Hi everyone, very good to be chatting with you just now. This is your first life group summary from this Sunday morning sermon for you to discuss and follow up as a way of discipling one another. So this morning we've had our first online and on-site Sunday morning. It seems to have gone okay. If you've got any feedback, please feel free to send that in. We want to make sure that we keep improving, but a good start this morning. And after I guess all of us have had challenges through lockdown in various degrees and uncertainty going forward to varying degrees. It was good this morning to speak about the fact that God is faithful. We read through Psalm 33 verses 1 to 5. It would be good for you to do that again and to discuss some of what strikes you out of that under the theme of God is faithful. Now, theological people like to think in terms of the attributes of God, those qualities and characteristics that make God God. Perhaps you could discuss together what come to mind when you think about the attributes of God. If you ask me to what attribute most readily comes to mind when I think about God, very close to the top of the list at least would be that he is faithful, by which we mean that he is good and right in all that he says and does, that he's entirely reliable, utterly dependable, unchanging, completely trustworthy, totally righteous, all those sorts of things that make God God all reflect his faithfulness. It's as you'll know, a theme right through the whole of Scripture, that God can be trusted because what he says he does and what he is always consistent with what he says and does. And that confidence in God's faithfulness has always been a huge anchor for Christians in their faith from the very earliest times, especially when they're going through challenging and difficult times. The most obvious image is, as a ship's anchor. So an anchor will hold a ship safe, whatever the seas are doing, will stop the ship from drifting off, and will enable everybody on board to sleep at night, knowing that however stormy it gets, we are anchored to something much more secure than the seas that are raging around us. And the one time that the term anchor is used in that way, metaphorically, in the New Testament is in Hebrews chapter 6, which is almost certainly where that symbol came from that was used in early Christianity. The scattered Christians in Hebrews are being persecuted, tempted to go back to their old life in Judaism, and the writer wants to tell them, no, hang on, stand firm. And at the end of Hebrews 6, he's encouraging them to be patient and hang in there because Jesus has gone ahead of us and he is an anchor for our souls. All that he's done, all that he is in his death and resurrection and ascension has fulfilled and delivered on the promises that God has made. God is faithful and he's delivered on his promises in Jesus. And as we've all had a tough time and uncertainty ahead to varying degrees, it's a good thing for us to remember that God is faithful and that we have an anchor for our souls. I wonder what has been the most difficult thing for you during lockdown. And I wonder what is the most uncertain thing you're facing going forward. What we need is an anchor, something greater than our feelings, a truth that is reliable and dependable. And that reliable, dependable truth is that God is faithful. You can trust his promises. And you can trust his promises not just because they're great promises. You see, if I said to you, I will never leave you or forsake you, apart from being a bit freaked out, you would laugh at me really and say, well, there's no way you can deliver on those promises. You don't have the attributes to do that. Or if I said to you, I will supply all your needs, in the future. Again, you'd laugh at me and say, there's no way you can deliver on that. But God's attributes mean that his words and promises can be trusted because he is faithful. So think of some of the promises that you know God has made in Scripture and encourage each other with those. I'm sure, like me, you have known all sorts of uncertain times in life. How good to have an anchor for our souls at those times. So please encourage one another, help one another to keep a focus on God, his magnificent attributes, and the remarkable thing that he is faithful at all times. Whatever is going around, whatever seems to be happening or not happening, we have an anchor for our souls. God is faithful.